to Magathea Builder World. This is part 3 of the Tumbling Feather Burrows and Badgers Patreon build. I think that's how it goes. This is the ultimate part, the last part. I aim to make this the last video in this series. Long time no video, for that I apologise. Been poorly, ill, cold after cold, end of the year. Loads of works for Father Christmas, which has been kind of busy, ho ho ho, and the house build is nearly there. All of that has totally got in the way of actually getting on and finishing this build. This video is kind of like a bonus video really, because I thought I was going to get this model made in two videos, but I haven't. I failed miserably. Well, I didn't fail miserably. I just ended up with more footage than I thought I was going to. So this is the third video of the Tumbling Feathers build. Alright, we interrupt this introduction for a end of year pup date. I've got something I need to confess. Check this out.
Okay everybody, this is a pup date. Welcome to Ludo to the family. You might have seen the odd photograph if you're one of my friends on Facebook. This is Ludo. She accidentally came and started living with us just for Christmas. Well, it wasn't much of an accident, but we got this amazing new shower room, which is just right for Ludo's first shower. Say hi everybody. No, I'm sulking, I'm aware now. Ludo is 9 weeks old and Chewbacca and Ahsoka absolutely love her to bits. So a happy family of 3. Apparently we're going to stop now at 3, aren't we, love? Apparently we're going to stop at 3, yeah. We haven't got any room for any more. But anyway, back on with the build.
So what is the Tumbling Feather then? Oh, here you ask. Well, actually, if you're asking what the Tumbling Feather is, what you really ought to do is go and watch videos 1 and 2, and then you'll find out. If you haven't got time for that and you want to skip right to the end bit, here it is. The Tumbling Feather is an inn that I'm making for Burrows and Badgers. There's a shock. Fat Hobby Gandalf is making yet another inn for Burrows and Badgers. This inn is being made as a prize for a Patreon competition that was held earlier in the year. Patreon, you say? Do you have a Patreon page? Yes, I do. It's patreon.com/Magathea Builder Worlds, and very soon the December competition will go live. That means if you are one of my patrons, you can enter the competition to stand a chance of having me build you a piece of scenery that eventually gets made one day, possibly, and then when it's been on a number of videos on this channel, it gets sent to you. Well, hey, free of charge. So this building then, if you remember, going back a little while, was quite a challenge because it's based around trees. The Tumbling Feather is for Burrows and Badgers. Burrows and Badgers, of course, is probably my favourite game of all time, and if you don't know that, where have you been? If you have only just discovered this channel and you want to find out about Burrows and Badgers by Michael Lovejoy of Oathstorm Miniatures, go and look at all of the B&B content that I've produced, which has been quite a lot. If you already know about B&B, then let's skip to that bit. The Tumbling Feathers then is an inn somewhere in the roads in Albion, conceptually designed by a gentleman called Matt Cullo. It was originally an inn for avian types, for birds and the like, up in the trees that go over a road, probably accessed by squirrels as well, I should think, but now any kind of beast can go there. And although I've scaled down some of Matt's ideas because it was quite an impressive kind of thing, we are nearly there. We're nearly there with this piece of scenery. This video is really going to cover the detailing, the roof, and how I do all the trees and things and make it all look like trees. It's based around 2 big tree trunks that were from Sylvanian Families toys, and then there are several layers on several different rooms, and we're going to detail how that all gets finished off this time round. So make sure you watch all the way to the end to get to the saucy bit. And that way there we will crack on with finishing this model off so I can get on with the very next thing. Yes indeed. What are we doing now? Oh yeah, let's get back on with the roof. I've grabbed a 25mm piece of XPS foam, it's an offcut, which I'm going to turn into a chimney, put on the outside of the model. A bit I'm pointing at you can't see. So right, yeah, this is whimsy time, kids. Totes. because why is it whimsy time? Well, it's a stone chimney in a bloody treetop tavern. Much more whimsical can you get, frankly? I'm going to cut the bottom square. It's a big scalpel blade. No, I'm not using my heat tool for this. I'm using just a really sharp, long scalpel blade. That's mainly because the nice thing about XPS foam is it doesn't make the mess that low density polystyrene does. So happy days, you get pretty good straight cuts with it, which is kind of cool. Right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw on here the kind of chimney I want, and it doesn't need to be, it's going to be roughly 1 inch wide, but it's going to kind of, I'm not going to worry about it being too straight. After all, it's been made by birds. Yep, we're going for the whimsy look. Can you see that? How clearly can we see that? You see that? Just in there, cards in there, can't you? Right, I'm going to cut this out and see what it looks like. Alright, here's me whimsical chimney cut out, and I've cut a slightly bit here that's going to sit on the model. You can't see the freaking model, can you? But what I need to do now, there's my chimney cut out. I need to texture this now so it will look better, and I'm going to draw stones into it. But what I need to do first of all is take some tin foil. If you haven't seen me work with XPS for a while, make the tin foil into a ball. Take the XPS foam, take the tin foil, yeah, roll the tin foil, press it into the XPS foam on all sides. Now the back of it here isn't too bad because a lot of that is going to go flush up against the wood of the building, but I do need to go down these bits here. This compresses foam more, and it also adds a rough and random texture, which is going to help it look more stone-like. Be particularly careful up this end not to press too hard so I don't snap the foam, but it's helping me cover up any marks I made from the knife. Especially with this, I use this long scalpel, and it's got this the bit that holds the blade in place, that gouged along the foam, so that's going to help cover that up quite a lot. Just make the whole thing a much nicer texture to paint. Going along, especially along the nice, neat, straight cut edges that are made with the scalpel, rounding them off. It's kind of cool. And then when that's done, it's going to be any second now, I will take my trusty biro. Oh no, I haven't done this side here. Wait a minute, hang on. All the way along there, up the sides. All the way around. There we go. And on the top as well. I'll take my trusty biro, and I'm going to draw brickwork, stonework into this. This is much quicker than the Proxon geniuses and wizards who cut out individual pieces of foam and stick it together as bricks. Life is just, those guys make some amazing stuff, but life is too short for that. So I'm going to draw in Some stonework. Big ones at the base of the chimney to support it. These are fairly uneven. I'm not trying to go for symmetry or neat, which is kind of cool. Going to run a line roughly up the middle. And just end up having a nice whimsical, stone build. Smaller bits going around these curves. And there we go, there's my whimsical little chimney that's going to go on the side of the tavern. I haven't worried too much about masses of detail on the back here because this is going to be stuck on the wall anyway, so from that point of view it's going to go just about here. Let's check it out. Okay, so I'm going to stick it on. Use Gorilla Glue, Gorilla Wood Glue, great stuff this. Haven't used any on this model so far. Most of the balsa will get stuck together with Bostik and Yoo-Hoo all-purpose clear solvent-based adhesive, but can't do that with XPS foam, of course, because the XPS foam will melt, dissolve, or whatever with a solvent-based glue, so I'm going to have to use a woodworking glue, which is absolutely fine. Although my nozzle's clogged, so bear with me. Whoop. There we go. Just stick. Okay. Glue. Stick on wall. Now it's a good grip. I'm tempted to put a pin through from the other side just to hold it in place so it doesn't slip off, but otherwise that's going to work absolutely fine. Chimney on the other side equals whimsy in my book. There you go. Alright. Okay, after several days of being quite under the weather, back to it because I've got a roof to build. The first thing I need to do is make a structure and then work out what the hell I'm going to do with the trees. So I'm starting here on the hexagonal towery bit. Let's move that around this way here. Oh, still got all the bits from the furniture. It's not quite a hexagon, but I'm going to make a hexagonal roof out of isosceles triangles, which will probably end up being thatched. And then there'll be a bit of fudging of roof over here, because that's where the fudging of making one bit attached to the other. And then I'm going to make a gable-ended roof, I think, here And then I might see if I can blend them both together. We'll see how we go. Again, I want to have that, go for that evolved, built over time kind of look. So it doesn't matter if they're two separate roofs. They're certainly going to be different heights. Going to have different roof profiles, and it's going to give this model even more height. It's going to be one of the tallest, definitely. I think it's going to be the tallest B&B model I've made so far, which is right and fitting and proper because it's for birds. Yeah, what I'm doing first of all is I've taken a piece of a mounted board, which is 7.5 centimeters wide, which is how wide the hexagonal parts of the 7.5 centimeters wide, which is how wide each wall of the hexagon is. So that's the base, and I've made them 4.5 inches tall. And I'm going to try and make a hexagonal roof, see if they'll go together, see if that works, kind of thing. Hoping it does. It doesn't matter if there are gaps and there are spaces between it, because it's going to end up being thatched. I'll end up with teddy bear fur all over the top of it, so it doesn't matter if there are gaps on the outside. For what I've got in mind with the foliage and everything else going on it, the underside of this roof is not going to be very pretty, to be quite honest. There might be a lot of glue gun and glue involved, so we'll have to see how it is. But first of all, I need to take my Stanley knife, new blades, cut out some boards. I need to make 6 of these triangles, I think, see how that works out. So yeah, let's do that, see where we are in a moment. Right, so I've now cut 6 of these triangles out, and what I'm going to do, yeah, go, he goes, episode 653 of Tim makes it up as he goes along, is I'm going to balance these rather precariously together. Go on, settle down there like that, you bastard. I did it perfectly before I turned the camera on. On there. Well, on the other side, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bead of hot glue. See if I can glue them together. That way, I hope to get the angle right. Well, that didn't fucking work, did it? Oh my god. Alright. However, there's some hot glue up the top now. I might hold that together if I do that with it. Because of course I want these roofs to come off, so yeah, nice one, knobhead. Okay, I've now got hot glue all over the cardboard. Nowhere I need it. I might do enough to hold it. I can't believe I did that. Right, okay, so let's lean this one in here. Yeah, shit, fuck. This part of the video is going to have a lot of swearing, people. God damn. It was such a good idea. Maybe I needed, like, masking tape and just tape the bastard thing together. That would work. Get some masking tape and tape it together, Tim. You try to be too damn clever, look. Glue. No, we are going to make this idea work. This is how it's going to work. This is how it's going to be. This is the way. And I've got glue dripping down inside the bloody building. Oh, you bastard. Right, there's going to be an amusing set of outtakes. Or just an amusing take. Oh, balls. Look, this is me really cocking this up and didn't think this through. There you go, everybody. So that's the experiment of doing that. Well done, me. Just to remind everybody that I'm human just like everybody else. Yeah, Tim done a good job. What I don't need in the comments down below, sarky bastards telling me how I should have done it, because I know I shouldn't have done it this way. Right, hey ho. Right, okay, let's check it out. I'll see if I did it a different way in a moment. Okay, so what I've done this time is I've actually stuck using hot glue the different cardboard sections, and whilst the hot glue is still hot, I'm kind of like folding it to roughly the right shape. This is not what some people would call ideal, but it's going to give me enough of a shape for me to be able to work out how this damn roof is going to work. This is kind of like a draft, I suppose. Yeah, this is kind of okay. Got to put this last one in. Got 5 bits. I'm definitely just going to have a whole removable roof here. I think it's going to be the easiest way to do this. I'm not sure how the botching bit is going to work in between, but I might leave that permanently in. Let's get one last bit here. So look, there's loads of glue. I said it's going to be messy. Loads of hot glue under there. For the last triangle. Put it down on my desk. There it is. Glue, bead of glue up there. The glue is going to form part of the gap now then. And bead of glue on the other side, holding that together. Scrap bit of card, spread it out. This is hot glue. Set at hot, which actually means that before it cools down, I've got a bit of flexibility. I'm going to lift this up. What a bloody mess. However, that's going to do enough to hold it in place. This is where you can tell I don't work with hot glue very often. They're not all exactly the same size triangles either, but it's going to be enough. I mean, the fact in the end is that I want this to form a rough shell. Here we go. There we are, look. There's my rough roof. And then my rough roof is going to go onto this part of the tavern now. And then I'm going to kind of like force it into place for a moment. That ain't bad. And what I think I'm going to do is actually run some beads of glue now down the top around the outside. Again, it doesn't matter. I'm not having to be super neat and tidy here, because all of this is going to get covered by thatch. So bead of glue in that gap. I'm going to smooth that over with a bit length of card, holding that in place. So that's the right shape. Bit of scrap cardboard. Run that down there. The making of this video then has been delayed by my illness. And also the fact that I've spent several nights recently catching up on gigs that should have happened during the pandemic. Following my first and number one love. And reasserting the fact that metal is religion. We've done Powerwolf, Nightwish, and Amorphis, Shine Down, El Vute. It's been good. It's been a very metal start to December, end of November. There we go. A bit like everything else, even using something like a hot glue gun is something I don't often do. So I'm sure there are proponents out there of the art form that are finer at it than I am. I know you can get smaller ones as well, but should hold the whole thing in place. Which means this evening I've succeeded in producing a hexagonal bit of the roof, which is cool. Now it's going to be bedtime, mate, because I've got to go and do actual work tomorrow. When I say actual work, of course, I'm off to be Father Christmas. Ho ho ho. Alright, so there's my badly glued together hexagon. Now I'm making the roof for this end. It's yeah, I'm going to do this in a hipped roof style. So instead of having gable ends, it's going to have sloping ends. That way there. So over here, this is going to come down the slope then is going to hang over, the other roof is going to hang over the edge. Whoops. And it's going to make it more interesting. I don't normally make roofs like this. I normally use a gable end, a flat end. But what the hell, this is fun. And when I've stuck this bit together, again using hot glue, I'll then make the little bit of roof that's going to cover here down to here. I'm going to stick all 3 pieces of roof together, so it all lifts off all in one go, just for ease of use. I'm often guilty of making way too many complicated things, so from that point of view I'm going to stick this one as it is. So I've cut a series of different roof pieces. I've already worked out the triangle hip that's going on here. At this end over here, of course, it's staggered, so my hip, I think, is going to work like this on the roof. Although I am kind of tempted to actually have roof sticking out over this bit here, so there's like a porch over the doorway. That might be quite cool. So I could actually use where are we? Another triangle at this end, leaning in, and then my roof could just come all the way across. I think that might be my best solution, neatest solution. So I'm going to have a go at making. Okay, so here's the roof, and it's a bit messy, but does work all in one go. I mean, there's a lot of hot glue, and the inside too, to hold the whole thing together. But that's because I made it piece by piece and stuck it together a piece at a time. And I've decided that what I'm going to do is to continue to give it that kind of, like, one bit was made at one time and one bit was made at another time. I'm going to have different roof textures. So the hexagonal tower over here I'm going to cover in tiles, and then the rest of it I'm going to thatch, which I think will be kind of cool. So here I'm going to be using wall bases, strips of tiles, because they'll be pretty quick. I tile this whole thing. I might actually have to take a scalpel and trim down some of this glue first, because it's a bit lumpy bumpty. And then I'll use teddy bear fur to thatch this bit. When I've done that, I'm then going to get on to working out how I'm going to do trees of foliage on top, because this is all really cool, but what we want is that tree element as well. So we're going to see how that works out. But right now I'm going to use these. If you're not familiar with these are laser cut cardboard tile strips from a company called Wall Bases. I've used these before. I used these rounded ones, these scale type tiles on my lighthouse for Benfleet, I think. I've used flat tiles on the on big builds like Redwall Abbey, that kind of thing as well. So they're pretty. If you watch this channel a lot, you'll be used to these things. If you're not, they're really cool. They're quite a cost-effective way of tiling, especially when you want to do interesting shapes like scales. They come in as a sheet like this in their own protective wallet. I can't for the life of me remember how much each sheet costs, but you can find out yourself at, on the Wall Bases website, which is shown down below. Check it out. Go there, and yeah, they're really cool. They're quick to send out, and it worked out real well. So from that point of view, I'm going to use more of these. So I'm going to get on with this. Going to stick tiles on there, tile this bit of the roof, and then thatch that bit. That's the plan. So I just need scissors, and yoo-hoo for this. Pretty straightforward task. So that's tiles on now all around here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides done. I haven't done this side here because it's going to be bloody fiddly, and now that's the bit we're going to do. There is going to be a certain amount of swearing going on right now while I do these little bits down here, which is kind of funny. First of all, I've got loads of hot glue residue still kind of like here, which is going to get in the way. But secondly, this part of the roof because I want different textures, is going to be thatch, and it's probably going to cover over a lot of that, so I'm hoping that they won't matter too much, because you won't see much of the tiles that are down in these edges down here and here. But when I get above the top, that should be pretty straightforward. Then all I've got to do is think about the ridges down in between each part of the roof, and the cap itself, which I think would be lead, because the actual fitting of tiles would be too fiddly. So I'm going to achieve that with strips of very thin card that cut and put down and beaten over the top, so they'll be lead to waterproof on the edges. And still going to come up with a way of doing the cap in lead as well, which again might either be cardboard or might even use tin foil. Might work. I'll have a fiddle with that in a minute. So we're going to get on with tiling this one little bit of roof here, then yeah, the leading, and then the thatch on this side. Yeah, that's the next bit. Let's do it. Well, that was bloody fiddly, however, and it's a bit of a mess, but it's okay. So there we go. Look, I've cut up, I basically cut up the box that my tube of glue came in. Cut cardboard strips, lead strips down, and that's framed nicely, each set of tiles. And then I took a bit of tin foil, last bit of tin foil I used in the video where I was kind of like doing XPS foam. Cut a circle of that, placed it on the tile, stuck it down, and then that's beaten lead over the cap of that bit of the roof, which is pretty cool. Now I need to, look, that sits, so we can, that sits nicely on there, which is fab. Now just going to do the roof on this section, and what I'm going to do with that is not going to tile it. As part of anything else, this bit in the middle here will be an absolute nightmare tiling, and yeah, life is too short and we want to get this finished, don't we, Matt? So what we're going to do, I'm going to clear up what's left of my tiling mess down here, and then we are going to wield the teddy bear fur, which I'm going to cut to shape and use for thatching on this building over here, which is going to be kind of cool. I hope I'm going to be able to make that work. So I'm going to thatch this bit and that bit there, and then well, the only thing I'll then have to do is work out what the bloody hell I'm doing with kind of like trees and foliage and stuff sticking up from the top. We'll see how that pans out in a minute. Right, first things first, clear up my workspace. I don't say that very often. Right, let's do it. There we go, there's the very fetching red roof then on this building. Looks a bit crap in a minute because all it is just teddy bear fur. I've cut and fitted 3 different bits of fur to the cardboard roof. I'm going to let the glue go off. I used solvent based Yoo-hoo. I'm going to let the glue go off completely, give it a couple of hours, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to soak the whole roof in Mod Podge and brush some thatch into it and try and mould in blend in these couple of lines here, brush the fur over and over the top, and try and brush it down a little to get the thatch going in the right direction. As you can see, as you do that, you lose bits where you cut it off and that kind of thing. It's a much quicker way to do a lot of roofing, so from that point of view, and I'm hoping that the 2 bits, the tiles, where I blend the thatch and the tile, that'll look pretty cool. Now, while that's drying, I've got a couple of other things to think about before I go for the bit that's going to really sell this as being amongst the trees, which is going to be foliage. I'm thinking of, I'm not thinking of it at all. Somebody else came up with the idea, I can't remember. One of my regulars on my channel suggested last time that I put some kind of crane in here for lifting barrels up to the bar, which is just behind the wall here, which I'm kind of thinking of doing. Maybe cutting a hatch in the wall, barrels could be here, and then putting some kind of arm out that could be used for lifting barrels up onto this level, and then even up into the pub as well. If I do that, I'm going to have to make it removable, I think. From an ease of storage point of view, I think at the very least I could put some kind of hatchway stuck on the wall here that indicates that. That would be kind of cool. I could cut into the wall, place that in place, and and that'll look quite neat. There's another way into the pub from a game point of view, but also helps make more sense of the model. And you know me, I'm always about interested in the narrative and actually having these things actually make sense, and that'll be quite cool. So, how the birds with only beaks and feet get their beer up into the tavern? Well, they have a crane system here to lift barrels up from the road, and then they get stored on this platform and then up into the pub when they're used. And I like that as a solution. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to let this lot dry off, and I'm going to cut a hole into this piece of wall here, and I'm going to stick this hatch, which I'm pretty sure I'd made for, originally it was going to be on the floor in this section down here, but now it's superfluous, just kicking around. But I'm going to cut a hole and stick that into the wall there. That will look pretty neat. And it's just, well, it means I don't waste that big gear, and it's quite good. It would be nice from a painting point of view, because the planks on the door going in a different direction to the planks on the wall, which is quite neat. So let's give that a go. Okay, so where are we at? Cut out a hole in the wall for that hatch, which is now double-sided, and I've put a beam all the way across above the bar, which is going to be a little awkward for putting figures in it, and this is going to have a crane. I'm going to have a hook, hang a rope and a hook on here. Now, while I'll be fiddling around on my desk, I've also rather conveniently come across these. It's a little baggie full of things, charms, that I bought ages ago. I think they're the kind of thing you get for like steampunk jewellery or something else. But actually, if you look at each one, check it out. Look what it is. Look. It is. Can we see that? It's a tiny feather. I got these originally because I thought they were not dissimilar to one of the religious symbols that are around in Burrows and Badgers. I've used various other things. Fleur-de-lis appear on a lot of B&B stuff, and I bought a bunch of fleur-de-lis pin brooches because they make really good and easy adornments on different bits of furniture. And I was going to do a similar thing with this. Well, now, conveniently, serendipitously, I've got feathers to adorn the tumbling feather, and I think what I'm going to do with each one of these is I'm going to stick one above each doorway, and I'm going to have one hanging down underneath here as the tumbling feather. I'll string one up or hang it on her. So the tumbling feathers shall have feathers above the doors, which is kind of cool. So while I'm waiting for my roof to go off, I'm going to stick a couple of feathers on the wall. Quite neat. I think I'll probably, on the ones going on the walls, clip off the little hook on the top. The little circle, look. That's going to come off here. But yeah, nice. Again, will give you something nice to paint when the whole thing is getting painted up. Otherwise, there's an awful lot of woodwork getting painted here, which is going to be a bit tiresome. So just take a pair of clippers. It's really soft metal, so I've been able to take that off real easy. Just stick one above the door on the first floor, one above the door on the platform over there. Yeah, nice, really pleased with that. Okay, cold has not improved today. In fact, it's got worse. But that is not going to stop me slapping Mod Podge on this red teddy bear fur, which doesn't look great at the minute. What it needs is to have Mod Podge applied, which will seal it and then help me also make all the thatch run in the same direction so it look right. I've never done a hipped roof with thatch. It's normally gable-ended buildings I do, which doesn't have this situation of having to forget this join, so I'm a bit dubious about how that's going to work out. I'll have to see. So I need to apply Mod Podge, there it goes, and find a big brush and slap it on and see what happens, and then leave it for 24 hours to dry. Okay, so it's like a 1/2 inch brush, I think. I don't know. Loads of Mod Podge going on this I want it to be really solid. I think I'm getting around most of the joins or the bits I've cut just by blending it as best I can with the Mod Podge, soaking it in. There might be the odd line when we get the model. When it's done, I need to get underneath all this fur under here, stick that down as well. I might end up giving it a bit of a trim when it's all completely dry, but Mod Podging the fur always makes it look better. It always helps to stroke all the thatch into place, help it run down and look more like it's supposed to, which is pretty cool. I'm getting quite a lot of glue in the end here. You'll get a good blend between the thatch and the tiles, cover over any gaps the tiles. Could go around the front and do that as well. Thatch on this model is tall enough, steep enough for it to actually work, and this is hopefully going to give a really solid roof to this part of the model. And then I'm going to paint it, and then I'm going to work out what the smeg I'm doing with the foliage, which is going to be the last part of this model, and I've got to say an absolutely critical part to sell it as a building up in the trees. I have a plan for that. I'll tell you about that in a couple of minutes. Well, yeah, then the video will be a couple of minutes. It'll be a day or so actually from a work point of view. Right, so left to do then, before I worry about the foliage, is I need to find a couple of bits to detail my crane for my beer barrels, and I need to let the Mod Podged thatch dry. When you brush through it, what it does is it pulls out any loose fibres. When my thatched roof is dry, which will be tomorrow or maybe even the day after, because this is I might take this inside the house for it to dry out better, because I'm outside in the workshop. When that's completely dry, I am then going to paint this big bad boy. I think when I'm sitting here and I've got Mod Podge out, I'm going to Mod Podge over the tree trunks, because if nothing else, they've got quite a nice texture on them anyway, but what the Mod Podge will do is it will help paint stick to them. So I'm just going to run a bunch of Mod Podge, I think, over the tree trunks. That's a good idea. Very briefly, just paint it on basically. That'll help with the primer when I paint that on. Spray that on tomorrow. Well, we're nearly done. And while I'm at it, of course, the other thing I'm going to need to paint Mod Podge onto, because Mod Podge is a very good sealer, is I also need to Mod Podge the chimney, of course. Otherwise, as soon as I spray that, it will dissolve. So Mod Podge all around the tree trunk, all those bits of branch, and Mod Podge on the chimney. Leave the whole thing to dry, 24 hours or so. Yep. Sweet. Good and solid. It's a very old friend of mine asked when he saw a sneak picture of this on Facebook, have I been being helped by Elmo? I suggested I'd skinned Elmo and stuck it on the roof. So the roof now is good and solid, which means what I need to do is take out anything that I've been using for scale or for trial, like the odd B&B figure, fireplace, table, that's not going to end up in the model anyway, nothing in there, plus bit of bar, what else, bit of bar, yeah, barrel, bit of bar,
set of shelves, all that malarkey. Empty the whole thing. They're going to need to as well. Take the model. Wait a minute. And then go and spray it. This is the last time you're going to see this not black or painted. So, it's a crappy wet day out, so I'm going to go and spray this indoors in the garage. Going to go black. Look, I stuck on my feathers. Can you see that above the door there? Yeah, that's cool. And I stuck on a feather above the door under there. So yeah, I'm going to go and spray this all now. Spray it all black. It's bloody massive. Look, huge model. That's a massive beast. This is a raven. This is how tall this model is. Man, this is really big. I haven't put trees on the top yet either, so from that point of view, yeah, pretty cool. Spray it, paint it. I won't spend much of this video painting it. It's, you know, it's painting. You can watch much better painters paint things than me elsewhere, so let's not worry about that too much. Going to get it painted, then I'm going to get it finished. It is worth noting at this point, one other thing I'm really pleased about, which is coincidental, not at all planned, although now I've done it once, I'll do it again in the future. This bit of wood here that's sticking out the crane bit, which I'm going to attach a pulley and kind of like rope to for hoisting barrels up to the barrel door, has actually meant now that it's cut into the roof. To make it fit, I had to cut the roof, and it sits on either side of the beam that sticks out, which means that now really actually conveniently helps to hold the roof in place on the model. The roof on this model is quite secure because of the nature of the different steps and bits and pieces. So I'm well pleased with that. Coincidental, accidental, but it's good. So what we're going to do is go spray this bad boy, get it painted. One step closer to getting the whole thing finished. And this is the bit I really love, of course, because this is where, when this is sprayed, you tend to lose seeing all the individual components. We start to forget that it's made of plastic trees, bits of balsa, bits of teddy bear foam, tiles, polystyrene, all sorts of stuff. It will all look like one model. So I'm dead excited about this bit. Off to go and find some black spray. Yes! Okay then, before we start, it's been primed black and mostly given a dusting of Austin Rover Maple, which is a mid-brown I get from Halfords. I'm going to redo the black on the roof and on the chimney so I can dry brush them up a different colour. But we're now getting there. Look at that, it all looks like one thing. When the roof is done, then I can start thinking about the foliage, but I also want to paint the rest of the model as well. So wish me luck. It's going to be a lot of brown on there. It's going to be quite a lot of green flock on the base. I might even paint some of the woodwork in other colours, A, to make it try and blend a bit into the forest, so there might be more greens in there. I think that's a good idea, higher up, and B, it will make it less dull, otherwise it's all going to be brown, 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 which is going to be dull, 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 dull. So I think that's what we're going to go for. Part of it's definitely going to be dark green, probably this main building here. This will be thatch colour, and then there'll be foliage. Well, let's see what happens. Okay, I'll see how it takes me. Wish me luck. Okay, so thatch on the roof, mostly painted, and now I'm putting a base coat on the tiles, which is a mix of Cantor blue and Mechanicus grey, because I need to use the word I haven't used a little while this end of the video. I don't have much of this video at all. This is where the whimsy comes in. We have this kind of like blue slate roof. This is going to take some dry brushing. I'm not being too bothered about the lead flashing for a minute. I'll do that in kind of some metallic colour later on. But first of all, I want this blue done. That's going to give me some nice contrast against the green foliage of the trees that will be there, and all this brown I'm going to paint. So blue, 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 grey, blue, bluey grey. Literally just slapping on as a base coat. Then I'm going to dry brush them.
upgrades on top of it basically. But already starting to look, oh yeah, you don't have to go into massive detail to have the paint job start to help bring the whole model alive. My creation. And yeah, in this case add that layer of whimsy that I'm after as well. These nice round scaly tiles are good for whimsical fantasy buildings actually, because they ain't very practical from a modern roof point of view or a real roof point of view, but they look pretty cool from this, so it's kind of neat. So look, there's my base coat on, and even at this stage then, if I stick that back on top of that and that on there, holding on to that, started to look quite nice, quite nice. Gonna dry brush the chimney next I think, and then we've got to start doing all the woodwork. This I think I'm going to make all wood. This is going to be green. Yeah. Well, I've got to say, I think this is probably the biggest, longest paint job I've done on any single piece of Magritte Builder World scenery. I mean, bar something like the Rebel Abbey, but that was like 3 buildings and all the rest. This is just one great big chunk. I didn't realise how big this model was. We're nearly there. I'm in my new kitchen here doing this because I've been sociable in the house. Say hello, dogs. Chiboo. Hello, Chiboo. Yeah. Hello, Socky. Looking out the front garden. And just to prove it, down over there, here's the puppy. Anyway, back to the model. Look, so I've put in place. Turn it around so it lights better. That'll help. I've painted and stuck in some bits there. I've painted and stuck in the fireplace there. I've got basic colours, some weathering. The tree trunks have caused me a lot of grief. They've still got inks and contrast paints drying on at the moment. I'm hoping by the time I've done the base, dry brush that and it's got flock on it and vegetation stuff that it'll look slightly better, but it's a bit of a mess in a minute. There's the roof. That was Cantor blue and greys and thatch, and then actually looks better now it's all weathered. It was looking far too neat and clean. So coming on, I don't normally do paint progress, but this is such a bloody massive paint job and I wanted to talk about it halfway through. But as you can see, I've still got a way to go. Most paintwork is now done. So now we're going to start thinking about using this lot to apply foliage, grass, bushes, flowers and stuff all around the base. That would help delineate the road that actually goes between these two things. When all that is done, I'm going to start on the trees on the roof. Okay, apologies if this bit of this video has to cope with the fact that I have some hideous lurgy. It's been like goddamn pleurisy ward in my house recently. Both my son and I have got hideous coughs and spluttering all over the place. I've got a cold as well, but I really want to get this thing finished. Look, this is now where I'm at, which is actually mostly done. In many ways, I'd be entirely happy to say this model is finished. Look, it's painted inside and out. I could take the lid off. Can we see colour there? Painted. Did I put some bare colour on the walls in there? There's no colour on the wall down here because this is just kind of like a snug or the rough room or whatever else. That's fine. It's all just bare wood. But the posh rooms of the tavern, I've got painted walls. You could be done, but the problem is that the whole concept. Let's go right back to the beginning of this. The whole concept of the Tumbling Feather is that it's a tavern that was first made by avian types birds, and it's in the forest. It's amongst the trees. So to sell that, I need trees. I need it to have foliage, and I want foliage up here at the top, and I'm really thinking it could do some more down below as well. So even at this stage and in this mostly finished condition, I might chop some of this around. Trees, what do we got? Well, my initial thought originally had been I was going to use Games Workshop trees. Hang on a minute, don't go away. Okay, right. There we go. My initial thoughts was I might use workshop style trees to add kind of, you know, I was going to have them sticking out the roof and all the rest of it. But they're just not very big. And these two Sylvanian trees are huge. They've caused me a right pain in the neck anyway from a painting point of view. I didn't know what colours to paint them. They were textured. They've painted up quite well, and they're still brown. I didn't really want brown because trees aren't really brown, but it's something in my mind, I don't know, it's weird, but if they're less brown, they don't look like trees. But, so yeah, they're just not big enough, the workshop ones. And then, of course, I was rooting around like you do, in all the scenery, and I came up with the solution. I think I came up with the solution. The trees that I mostly use on the battlefield are these. I don't make trees. Life is too short for me to make trees. I get most of my trees from a company called Last Valley. I buy them at shows, war game shows like Selwig and Slutwell, and they're not massively expensive. And what I like about them, if you look at this one, is they are actually made from wood, from tree, from stick for a start. They're moulded. They've got a nice moulded root ball, and then the actual foliage, I believe, is horsehair. I know, which is then sprayed and covered in with loads and loads of flock. Now the problem with that is the fact that, in fact, you can see that because here's one that's rather worn, and you can see an awful lot of the hair. These are bounced. I've had these ones for quite a few years. They've bounced around in boxes, and a lot of the flock is worn away, and they need redoing. So what I think I've decided to do first of all, on the back of this model, I'm going to turn it around. There's this door here, right? And there's quite a lot of base. And although I've got sculpted bits of base and it's all flocked and grassed and everything now, I was actually thinking of getting one of these trees and actually attaching it to the base, so it kind of hides part of the building from there. We get a bit of lower foliage underneath the tree, which is kind of cool, and it will make it more interesting to look around. So that is either going to involve me taking the tree off the base, or cutting into this base and putting this flat on there, or a bit of both, which I think I'm probably going to do. I think that will look quite cool. Here, that will give a nice bit of texture underneath. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to see, I'm not quite sure what size tree I could do that with. I could do that. It's a bigger one. I'd have to take way more of the base off, which I've already done, which would be a bit silly, and I wouldn't be able to see that, so I think that might be too big. So I think I'm going to go with this one single tree. Put that down there. That gives a bit of tree cover, foliage under there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 2 or 3 of these trees, and I'm going to cut them off the bases and put holes through the roof, and have trees growing out of the roof in a couple of places. It won't be pretty on the inside because I think I'm going to hot glue them through the holes. But what that would do, hopefully, is, and then this one needs a load more flock on it. But what that will hopefully do then is give me 2 or 3 bits of tree growing through the roof. And then what will have to happen is we'll have to suck up the fact that there aren't bits of tree going through the actual model itself. That will be a willing suspension of disbelief moment when you take the lid off. I want the trees attached to the lid, so you take off the roof and the trees all in one go, and then inside you've still got all that playable space. If I got super realistic now and had bits of tree going through the model and coming out and then going through the roof, A, it'll be a pain in the neck, and B, it'll be a pain in the neck from a modelling point of view, but it'll also be a pain in the neck from a gaming point of view. The point of this piece of terrain, like all my terrain, is so you can move figures around on it and you can interact and play games with it. The problem with Burrows and Badgers is that whilst I like the sophistication of the system, that you can identify small and medium creatures because they're on 30mm bases. Voila. Large creatures are on 40mm bases. Massive beasts are on 50mm bases, and 50mm bases actually on a terrain piece is a pain in the bum. Putting a big bird, not big bird, obviously not yellow unless they're putting a massive beast, massive birds like a raven, in this tavern. They fit at the minute, but if I go around putting tree trunks and bits and pieces in there, it won't be. It'll be a total dead loss. So I'm going to go with tree trunk in a couple of places on the roof, possibly where we got this funny joint and the rest of it, and one over here maybe. So they're at different heights, but then they'll give more height to the model, and it will sell, hopefully, the fact that this is trees and a building in the trees. And I don't need to, I'm not going to make any excuses for where the tree comes out in relation to where the trunk is to a certain extent. Maybe, possibly. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fiddle around now and see what I can come up with. Check it out in a moment. Okay, really go for it now. I've just taken a pair of clippers to this tree base, which, of course, because it's proper wood. Now, what do you do with that? Well, actually, check it out. Look, there's tree trunks. I'm going to keep that and use that for a scenario or another. Look, it's chopped down trees. Not bad. Now, I'm going to find a way, I think, of attaching this to this part of the tree here. If this goes on this bit of the roof, the trunk that comes up here, which is, of course, mostly got a staircase inside it, apparently, it's going to come in here. So I think I'm going to put that on there like that. What do you think? Yeah. I have no idea what I'm doing now. I'm about to punch two perfectly good holes in this roof, either side, I think, of that. That'll be kind of cool, though. I've reflocked that tree. Now what I need to do is I need to, punch holes in it, get the hot glue gun out, and glue the crap out of it on the inside. That'll look alright. And then, another, and maybe another. And then this might look alright. Wish me luck. Right, there we are. Trees sticking out of the roof. Yay! And also, just spin it around. Tree down here on the base as well. That's about some trees I'm going to get. I'm quite pleased with this. Like I said, it was kind of messy underneath. I don't really need to show you this underneath, but you can see the hot glue holding it all in place. Now there's one other thing that I think I'm going to do to this model before I call it finished. And that is what I like to do to a lot of models, and that is light it up. I want this to light up in the dark. LEDs, so brilliant, so simple, that all I'm going to do is attach, I'm going to stick inside in the roof a bunch of what's it called, a bottle LED thing, string type malarkey. Oh, I'll show you, hang on. Fresh out of the packet bottle garland. Right, so I'm going to unstring this, and I'm going to find a way of sticking it up in the roof. Yeah, and then that would be nice and easy from a lighting up point of view, but I can run lights then all the way through the roof, the inside of the model here, and that way there I can have a load of light, which would be really, really cool. I'm going to cut into this hexagon here to be able to run cables through, but I think that'll be quite neat. We'll have a look at that in a minute, how it lights up. I'm pretty much calling this done now, to be quite honest. I could carry on adding and 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 adding, but here it is, the Tumbling Feather Inn Tavern. A tavern set in the trees, over a road,
yeah, I think it's kind of there. I'm quite pleased with this. I'm hoping that the whole thing's still in it, really. Trees, canopy, what's kind of cool, it's a bit of this we talked about throughout. Well, the roof lifts off in one go, and there are all the trees. Inside, LEDs. We've then got on the first, well, on this top floor, 2 largish rooms. There's quite enough room in there for, well, certainly figure-based action. If you were using this for a role-playing game, if this was being like used in for like D&D, 5th edition, or AD&D, or any kind of fantasy role-playing game, there's tons of scope for this. The front just fell off. There's also this lower room on this tree section here. We've got a landing platform for birds here. We've got windows of different heights and different sized creatures. We've got another doorway in here off this landing platform, which is now behind this tree, which now adds to that foresty feel as well. There's a nice bunch of plants, flowerage and the like down the bottom there, the normal standard kind of model railway stuff that I use. So that's kind of like added to that, and I'm just like really chuffed as it goes with the whole overall look of this model. More to the point, I hope Matt's going to be really chuffed with this. This is, after all, a Patreon prize. My new Patreon competition is just about to go live. It's late because it's January now, but this, you've got to bear in mind, dear viewer, is a commission piece. It's a prize for a winner from Magathea Builder Worlds. From my Patreon, patreon.com/Magathea Builder Worlds. So this is going to go to another gamer, another player of B&B, and he's going to get used somewhere else. I'm not even going to get to use it. Well, do you know what? I'll tell you what, I might. In fact, what I'm really tempted to do is actually to have Matt, who is the guy who this is for, who doesn't live geographically that far away from me, to come and get it, and we could play a game using it. What do you think, Matt? How about that? Would that be cool? But I've put hours into this, way more than any of the other models so far. There has been lots of different conundrums to sort out, artistic choices, and all sorts of bits and pieces that I really am happy with. The roof bit with all the lifting off, that's cool. The different levels. Yeah, I think it's going to make a really smashing centerpiece on a battlefield. What I'm going to do, not going to do, is put this on a battlefield now to get loads of saucy video with it. Well, I'm going to put a couple of figures on it because it's going to look cool. I do need to get my little rotating doodah out to just videoing around, but yeah, I'm just really pleased with this. I'm sorry about all the close-up film you're about to see, because it's going to be really crap quality, because it's going to have all the rest of the workshop around about the place. But it's New Year's Day, it's the 1st of January, and I want to get this video up online and going. So I'm going to do close-up shots with this now, handheld, and just go around it and go from there. So it is the 1st of January 2023. This end of the video, I started making this video weeks ago. I don't know what 2023 is going to bring. New projects, new directions. I'd like to play some other games. If you think you'd like to see me make other stuff for other systems, please leave comments down below. If you like this model and how I've gone about doing it, please leave comments down below. If you are new to my channel and this is the first time you've watched a Magathea Builder Worlds video, then please click link, like and subscribe and do all that stuff, because all of that is really cool. If you'd like to be in a shot of chance of getting your own Magathea Builder Worlds piece of scenery made for you, then you need to sign up at my Patreon, patreon.com/Magathea Builder Worlds. All of those things are very possible. I am going to make a whole bunch more wargaming terrain this year. I don't know what it's going to be. If you'd like to come and say hello to me, come to Salute on April the 22nd this year. I will have a Burrows and Badgers table there. I will have a bunch of the guys that I regularly wargame with. And we'll be running some B&B on the Benfiot table, which has yet to see the light of day in its full glory. Yeah, this year looks like it's going to be pretty cool all round. Thank you very much for watching Magrathea Builder Worlds in 2022. Thank you for all your support, all your comments, all your likes, all your suggestions. It's great fun. I like making models, and I like making models and know other people are watching me make models, and I get to chat to them and talk nonsense and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for your continued support of this channel, and I will see you several other times, I should imagine, during the next 364 days. This is Magrathea Builder World. Over and out. Well, not quite over and out, because now I'm going to take the camera down, right, and I'm going to come and film around this. I'm going to put the odd bird on this model as well. Matt, I hope you like this, buddy. Okay, so it's too big to go on the Lazy Susan, so I've had to film it otherwise. Check this out.